I
Yeah,
came to ninth grade.
I can't remember who he was, but I know my fifth grade teacher, Mr. Ainsworth. I really loved him. He was good, you know what I mean. But I remember whoever that teacher was that taught us history, and he was a senior, and he taught the Civil War. He was a great teacher. He really got involved with the teaching and really made you want to learn. So he described everything in detail, and he really loved it. And I remember he was describing all about the Civil War. He had all their like little trinkets and everything. He said they even peeled apples back then. They had a trinket to peel apples, and we were like, no, they didn't, because that was way back. They were old people. They didn't have nothing back then. And he actually brought a piece out that he brought off the shelf. He put the apple in there, and he started going around in a circle with the lever, and it peeled that skin right off the apple, just the skin. And then when he took it out, it took the core of the apple out too. And we were all amazed. We were just all amazed at that. I was in sixth grade. And that was just so amazing. And then I remember he took us, we all went to Gettysburg. Remember we saw, all the shootings from the Civil War. And we was like, what are all those holes in the buildings? And he was like, that's from the muskets. That's the bullets from the muskets. So we're like, damn, they were huge, man. I'm thinking, man, you got hit by one of those back in those days, man, you were pretty much done. You know what I mean? That was pretty much it. Because there were some big old holes in them damn buildings, man. And he explained everything. He was like the greatest tour guide you could ever have. He explained everything. Everything he explained. And it was weird. And he told us the truth about a lot of stuff. Like, like the Civil War wasn't about actually slavery. It was about them freeing the slaves. He said that wasn't actually what the Civil War was about. It was actually about the South and the North not being together, not trying to, the South trying to just, leave the North, you know what I mean, leave America and have their own state. And then he told us about a lot of things about how the Civil War really was. The true stuff that they don't teach. He said, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I ain't gonna tell you what's in the books, but you gotta learn what's in the books. But I'm gonna tell you the real history, not this crap they put in here. So, and he told us the real history. And it was funny because the stuff that he told us when we actually went on tour and then people started talking, you know what I mean? They told us everything he said. And everything was true that he said. That was the most amazing teacher I ever had that ever talked about the curriculum and was so infused in it that you just wanted to know everything. You just couldn't get enough of his class. You know what I mean? And you just didn't ever want it to end. And he was that teacher. He was a tall guy too. I remember that. And he's always white, had black hair. I remember that. I just can't remember his name. That was so long ago. But I will never forget him. He was just a great teacher. And then Mr. Ains was my other teacher. And that was it. And the worst teacher I think I remember having was Mr. Vortel, that idiot, because he just thought so much highly of himself. And the other one was a math teacher. Like you could tell he knew his math, but to teach it to everybody, like people were always kept on like falling asleep in his class or this. It was just so boring, like you just couldn't learn. And I remember I was failing. So I had him 2 years in a row for Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, and I was just barely passing. I was always passing with D minuses, you know what I mean? And I remember a friend of mine came to the school. Not a friend of mine, a guy came to the school, and we became friends, and he was in our unit. And he described, and within a half hour, he taught me algebra. And I knew exactly what I was doing. And the guy went back to class. He's like, "Oh my God, you're getting A's and B's out there. I guess you're finally figuring it out." And I'm like, "Not because of you, brother. Not because of you." So, that kid told me in a half hour, I understood algebra. That was it. And I stayed with him for an hour to make sure I had it right. And I did. And that was it. It took that long. For 2 years, going on 2 whole years of math for Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. And I just see the last couple of months of Algebra 2 when he came in and he taught it to me. Within an hour, I had it down pat. That's just crazy. So when it comes to the teachers, that's my thing with the teachers. So what about I'm good now. I don't think Aaron can hear us, so
I hear you now.
Are you hearing now? Oh, okay, good. Okay. Well, Yana got to go pretty soon.
Yeah, I got a good one.
Oh,
Y'all gonna crack up. Hey, Baba, it's Yana.
Yana! Got you your face on my jaw, yo.
Yeah,
What you
I was telling Andre that I might have to, leave here soon. I'm going with a friend to her daughter's play for Christmas tonight. But I have. You're going to find this interesting. I have three. I would say three. Okay, that were influenced. But what was interesting, I love Mr. Cash. I don't know why. He's more like a father figure to me. Always seemed to allow us to be teenagers in this classroom without, the crazy discipline, and allowed us to be ourselves and ask questions. And then I'm not a religious person. I'm faithful. I'm spiritual, but I am not religious. But I loved Mr. Cook. Love Mr. Cook. And the third one will be very odd, and that is Mr. Ballistic.
Hold on, Yana. Mr. Cook, wasn't he the religious? He did
the religious. Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what's the odd thing. I'm not. I not into the whole brick and mortar church scene. Haven't been for years. But there was just something the way he taught that it wasn't beating our brows. Does that make sense?
I didn't even know he was a teacher. I only knew him for the church services.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah. He was the religious ed up in Senior Hall. And then, of course, it was Mr. Ballistic and how he made an impact. And this is how he made an impact that would impact as I got older. And identity as a woman. He told, I wanted to do, I don't know if y'all remember, like when we were in his little class before we went off to our perspective, if you were going to be college prep or in the shops or business, they offered the auto mechanics for like one semester. And he told me that women didn't do those kinds of things. And so I was not permitted to do that one semester of auto mechanics. And so that changed kind of like a trajectory for me to tell me that I, as a woman, can't do something. That changed everything. I've done things that I've wanted to do where I'm not going to allow a man to tell me, no, I can't. If I want to learn how to change a tire, I'm going to do it. Just because you say a woman's not supposed to doesn't mean I can't. So that was a whole different trajectory for me, where somebody says, no, that's not what a woman's supposed to do, was that whole mind and that thought process of barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, type.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? So that and so with having a daughter, raising her to understand that she can make a decision on what she wants to do in her life, and so, but yeah, like those are my three. Mr. Cash, though, I think y'all remember I used to get my knees wrapped before every freaking football game because I blew out my knees. And, and then it just was, he was and Mr. Cook, our senior year, I think, and also where I knew I didn't want to be a mom anytime soon. We had to carry them daggone eggs. I don't know. Do y'all remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
Bubba, did you have to carry an egg?
Yes, I had to carry an egg.
Yeah, remember that? And the people who had to babysit only could be seniors. And I don't know if you remember Terry Bover, but she and I kidnapped another girl's egg from the.
I remember Teresa about that.
Yeah, kidnapped an egg from the lady in the girls' locker room, and we ran up past the library. I'll never forget that. Those are the kind of memories, But yeah, those were three. With Mr. Cook, not being beat over the brow, being raised Catholic before I came to Milton Hershey. So going to mass, going to Catholic school was different. It was a different experience coming to Milton Hershey. That it didn't seem like for him in the student homes. We had to say prayer for morning every meal and yeah, but it was something different. It just wasn't a forced that you need, and maybe somebody else would have a different opinion in his classroom, but to me, didn't seem forced. It was a very easygoing class. So,
I like this. I don't know. Back in the day, they used to be so.
In the early 80s, it was so.
chauvinist back then. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Look,
Oh yeah.
yeah. But Mr. Ballistic, he was mean, but he was fair in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
But
yeah, he was fair. He was
I
always
remember
fair.
back then. I remember back then, and I agree with you that it shouldn't have been. You should have been able to take the class. But back then, come on, we know like look, there
Hmm.
were male roles and there was female roles back then, and like they totally believed in that stuff back then. I thought it was silly. I thought you should be able to
Well,
do what you want to do.
well, the
Well,
'80s were the success too, if you think
yeah,
about
you're
it.
right.
We were right in the middle of that whole years of excess. Everybody, and it was the Reagan years, and it was almost like being back in the '50s. Women were almost thrown back to that time frame during those
Yeah,
Mhm.
years. So,
Well, you remember too, like some of us wanted to do business and learn a trade, and they weren't having that either. Like either you
yeah,
was business, they basically made it if you had average to great grades, or like they just made it where only certain types of people who they liked could do business, and everybody else had to be a trade. You know what I mean? And that's the way it just seemed like it felt to me. But I
and
remember
see,
one other. Yeah, that's the way it felt to
we,
me in the school because they would never let
you
us
know,
do both, which I couldn't understand. You know,
well, they threw the women in business, or they were in the
the
what
food
was
thing, culinary
the
arts or whatever it was.
and then or they were in college prep. And
Mm-hmm.
usually the ones that were prep, if y'all remember in our class, especially, they were the favored ones.
yeah.
And
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The favorite ones. Mm-hmm. That was it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
used to be
and
my problem back then. They had their favorite in their picks that they would allow certain types of education to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everybody else
When
was influenced
we
too.
were told that we will always be allowed to be in. You know what I'm saying? Before I came, I was told that I would be able to do whatever I wanted to do there. You know what I'm saying? And when we got there, it was a whole different story to me with me. So I'll tell my story a little later. I didn't mean to interrupt Yana. Go ahead, Yana.
no, you're okay. No, it's just interesting to, um, the experiences everybody's had differently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, but like here, like there were some people, some teachers that you just could not stand. And I trying to think. I know there was a few I didn't like very much. But it was like everybody loved Mr. Francis. Come on now, Fran was always
Everybody liked
Mr.
it.
Yeah, Francis was funny.
You
He
know,
was cool.
and it just like I wasn't a fan. Like everybody was a fan of Mr. Webster's. I just didn't have a class with him,
I
and
love
nothing
him.
against. He was very nice to me after I graduated and everything, of course. But and like here, like teacher wise, and we all know about home life. That's the person I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't stand was Verna Royer. Verna
Mm-hmm.
Royer.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't like that woman. She was not. When she had her sights on you, it was
A lot of
over.
females didn't like her. A lot of females didn't like her. Yeah, they was either they liked her or they
She was,
hated her. There was no between with her with the females.
yeah, she was hateful. She was hateful, guys. I mean, she was hateful.
I just thought she was always mean. She just looked mean all the time. That's all.
That's
I,
because of that. She always had her. If you remember, her jaw was always wired shut.
mm-hmm, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She always had her job. I think she's always had surgery, but I mean, there's always the good experiences, and I just, sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
wish the students now had some of the experience we had, especially with the Barnes, and
Mm-hmm.
understanding what rushing to get, to get to go to class, rushing to get to the van. But you guys, well, but that's nope, yeah, make me have some good memories, guys. Thanks.
Ain't nothing wrong with good memories with teachers. Look, I had some good memories with my teachers. Not a lot, not a lot. But I'm gonna let other people talk. You know what I mean? I came in the room. Yana, I'm so grateful for you. If you want to stay, stay. If you want to comment on others, I'll keep you unmuted. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go. I muted Andre because Andre talked too much. You know what I'm saying? That's just Sometimes you gotta shut that brother down. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You gotta. He start taking over the interview. You know what I mean? You just gotta stop. But it's all right. We all love him. Look, he's still talking. Look, he's still talking. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about.
Well, I think my friend is pulling up, Bubba. Okay, Andre,
Right.
I love you guys.
Yana, we love you and we're grateful for you. Thanks for coming, and you have a great night, girl.
Love you,
And
Yana.
always come by, Yana. You can always come by.
Yeah, love you, Yana.
Okay. All right, have a good night, guys. Thanks for
Yeah,
inviting me.
All right, take care,
right.
Yana.
Take care, Yana. Yeah, take care. I got one more teacher, but this one last
one. This is what I'm talking about. But Andre, I love you. So you go get it,
okay. I know one. This is my last teacher. The one I forgot. He was the one who made me feel the most proud about being who I was, and that changed my whole life that day. And I remember it was I can't remember his name, but he was a history teacher. And it was like, I think it was our sixth graders. No, it was seventh grade. And I remember they were going over. I even remember at the school, everything back then was either blacks either came from slavery, or we were all like in the bush and eating each other, like cannibalism. That's all they showed of us back
then. They taught us. That is what they taught us.
We were slaves, or we were cannibalism. We was eating each other in the bushes. So I remember we were going through. It was like we was going through the Egyptian stuff, and a history teacher. I forgot his name, but God, I forgot his name. But anyway. And he's like, okay, he was going over everybody's nationality, you know what I mean, in the class. So, because light-skinned brothers like, well, I'm black, but, I'm mostly Indian, Native American. That's what it was all, all like, here's all somebody, I'm like, well, look, I got a little bit of Native American in me, but I'm mostly African, you know what I mean? And I am African, And that's when he said, you know what, Andre, out of everybody in here, I'm glad you said who you are. I'm glad you're not ashamed about who you are. He was white. He was a white teacher. He's like, you don't come from slaves in the jungle eating each other. He said, your people taught the world. He's like, you come from kings and queens, not slaves and bug money. That's what he said. He said, out of all the other black ones, he said, I'm glad you're the one that finally stood up for yourself. He said, because I wish I could teach you who you really are, but I can't because it's not part of the curriculum. He said this in front of everybody in the classroom. He said, but you come from kings and queens. I want you to always remember that. And after that, that was it for me. Changed my whole life. That one teacher. That was it. So I want to make sure I wish I could remember his name, but I can't remember his name. I'm gonna try to look him up later. You know what I mean? If I can remember. But I know he was like short, stocky, black hair, white guy. He was cool too. I always loved his history class, the way he taught. But yeah, him. He changed everything for me.
That's what's up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was the.
You always love an honest teacher, man. Mm-hmm. That always changed it for me. When I teach, I didn't trust teachers. I didn't trust any adults, yo.
Mm-hmm.
Because all my life, adults, even up to then, had always lied to me. You know what I'm saying? So I really didn't trust an adult. You know what I mean? And I felt like it was us versus them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at school.
Because that's the way they made it. They made it kind of like it's us versus them. You know what I'm saying? So there wasn't really much you could say to me as a teacher, because when I did trust the teachers, they let me down really bad. You know what I mean? Because I used to be a pretty smart guy. You know what I mean? I loved learning. I loved learning. I remember when we went to the Milton. I was there in 5th grade. I was happy. I was in class. I was doing well. I did very well in 5th grade, you know what I mean? And I remember I went to 6th grade. Well, in 6th grade, there was a mistake made. For some reason, they threw me in I'll just say, the dumbest class you could throw somebody in, yo. You know what I'm saying? I was like, they threw me in team, right? Now, I don't have nothing against team, but that was for people who had special problems learning, you know what I'm saying? So I'm in there, I'm in team, saying, how did I get here, man? And I remember my house parent, that they said, we didn't even know what team was. We didn't know anything. And they said I was going to 6-3. And I remember the house parent saying, I knew something was wrong with you. I was like, what? You know what I'm saying? I can remember I went in the classroom, right? And they started teaching, and it was like, I was like, am I in kindergarten? What the hell's going on? You know? You know what I'm saying? I rose my hand. I was like, hey. He said, yes, sir. I was like, I don't belong here. I was like, I don't belong here. I'm in the wrong class or something. You know, he said, nope, this is where you belong. I said, no, no. They said, listen, you took a test, they based your score, and this is where you belong. And I was like, no, this is not where I belong. But they refused to listen to. They didn't care. They didn't even try to retest me. They did nothing. They just said, you're stupid and you belong in this class, pretty much. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting in this class just wasting my dang on time. There's nothing that I'm learning. You know, so basically, what I did learn was not to study. I did learn not to appreciate school that much. That's what they told me. They taught me that you can't. You know, this is bull. You know what I mean? So I even called mom. Mom, look, love mom to death, but mom was not about to go against them white people. She was so grateful I was somewhere other than Philadelphia. You know what I mean? So I remember, you know, a semester passed, and my teacher was like, "Aaron, you don't belong here." I was like, I said, "I told you all along I don't belong here," and that's where I learned how I started. Y'all remember how I used to sleep in class all the time? That's where it started. That's where it started. There was no reason for me to be conscious in the classroom. You know what I'm saying? Because it was such a waste of time. And I remember the next semester, you know, because I talked to my principal too, and he said the same thing. You belong here. You know what I mean? And I don't want to say why I think they did it, but truth be told, they pretty much. I'm black. You know what I'm saying? I was a black kid in there. I was a big kid. I was dark skinned, and you know, believing I needed help was easy to believe, even though they knew I didn't. You know what I mean? So whatever reason they threw me in there, I think it was a numbers thing. Whatever reason they threw me in there, they quickly said the next semester, the principal came to me. He's like, Aaron, we're sorry. You were in the wrong, but you are in the wrong class. Something must have been wrong with the test, blah, 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 blah. You know, we found out that you weren't supposed to be here. I was like, okay. So you going to put me where I belong? No, well, we're not going to put you where you belong. What? No, we're not going to put you where you belong. We're going to just put you up to a different team room. So I was still in team. They didn't take me out of the team. They kept me there for a whole year. You know what I mean? The next year comes, you know, I'm failing. I'm not doing well because I missed a whole year's worth of education. So they're asking questions that I should already know. You know, though, you know, the back history that I should have learned last year, I didn't learn. The back math and reading, I didn't get last year. So I'm telling them all, listen, I need help because I wasn't in my class I was supposed to be last year, so could you give me, never did nothing. You know what they said? They said, oh, you'll figure it out. You're all right. You're smart. You know what I mean? I was like, what? It's like, you're smart. Imagine telling a dude, like a 12-year-old kid, you know what I'm saying, figure it out, you're smart. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I was devastated. It was as if they took my smart away. You know what I mean? It was part of my identity, and now it was gone. You know, I wasn't that kid that always knew all the answers no more. No one, and I used to say, listen, if y'all can't tutor me, can you point me in the right direction that I could like get some help? You know what they said? You'll be fine. You'll figure it out. That's it. That's what that's my teacher experience. So I never trusted a teacher or a grown up after that because to me they were all just a bunch of liars. You know what I mean? So I had made up my mind. I'll just study the stuff I want to study and just do what I have to do for the other courses. You know what I mean? And I can remember, like, you know, and I did that. I went to summer school like the next year, And that teacher said the same thing. I don't even understand why you're here, blah, blah, blah. I didn't care anymore. You know what I mean? And I think something happened when I got, it was too late by then, but it did stick with me. I was in the 12th grade and I was taking algebra. Was it? Was it? No, it wasn't algebra. It was calculus. I was taking up calculus. And, and my teacher was like, and I was getting good grades, and I guess everybody was surprised that I was getting good grades in this course. You know what I mean? And but the other courses, I really didn't care. I was getting just the pass, didn't care. And I think this was the only teacher that my mom had came that year, and this is the only teacher that admitted that I was smart. Like, just listen. Aaron's a smart guy, but Aaron doesn't care. You know what I mean? I never heard someone say that out loud. You know what I mean? But it's exactly what he said. Exactly what it was. I didn't care. I only cared about the things I wanted to do because it seemed like nobody else cared about anything I wanted to do. And I think that moment kind of ignited the thought that I could still do more than what I was taught here. You know what I'm saying? Like it was kind of an admission to me in my mind that I'm not stupid. It was teachers don't realize how much they impact kids' lives. Even when they're not even talking to them, when you hear what they say, and I can remember loving every moment of it. You know what I'm saying? Of that one time when mom was there and someone was telling her how smart I was. It only happened once. You know what I'm saying? But I was grateful, for that one teacher because he ignited something in me. He ignited the thought that I could do whatever I want to do if I really wanted to do it. You know what I mean? And I didn't get that from anybody but him that one time. And ever since then, I can't remember his name, but he wasn't like he didn't play games with his students. He was a real teacher. This does this and this, and he would teach you. If you ask him questions, he'd give you answers. He wouldn't tell you something stupid like you'll figure it out. You know what I mean? And that was like, he was a good teacher. He didn't make assumptions about me. He just let me be. You know what I mean? That was really good and cool. And I'll never forget that. Because, I'll never forget how important just a teacher's thoughts about you are. And I'm grateful for that. But that's my story. I know that other people have stories. We got Casual Down, we got Eric iPhone. You know what I'm saying? And Don, I'm gonna let you go last, but I'm gonna go to Andre. Shut up, God. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why.
Because Carmen's on the phone with me.
Because Andre don't think I know how to do my job. You know what I'm saying? I've been doing this when you weren't coming, and I'm doing it now. So back off and let me do my job, bro. Let me do it.
God, Lord, go ahead, Carmen.
Look, now he's telling Carmen to go. See, that's what I'm talking about. I swear, you know what I mean? Look at it. Hey, Carmen, how you doing, Carmen? This is why y'all need two phones so I can mute them. Hey, Carmen, do you have any teachers you want to talk about?
Yes, Carol Schilling and Mrs. Osterling. They were my Carol Schilling took. I got to give her props that remember she received me. I didn't speak a lick of English, and for her to deal with me, just one of the first girls in Milton Hershey, language barrier, definitely did not know your culture. She balanced everything, teaching me and got me a speech therapist to learn the English better and all that. She balanced a lot. And Mrs. Osterling, it was taught me a lot of things, and also at the same time, I was so shocked because my mom never taught me about the birds and the bees. I mean, Miss Osterling didn't teach me the birds and the bees. Just she told me that about the feminine things, and I was that was I didn't have that influence in my life. So my teachers went beyond teaching. these two. They took it personal and taught me, and also took it personal, liking to me to guide me. So those are my two teachers.
Okay. So how they impact? What did they do that was so wonderful that made you who you are now? Though, I mean, what were your experiences?
Well, first of all, with Miss Schilling, when I first came to her class, she remember the language barrier. She had to teach me. I wasn't sure why Black people were called Black people, like why.
Oh, you didn't know that she
She,
wasn't from America. That's why. Okay.
yeah, so even with the language barrier, she kind of like she taught me with the language barrier that this is how it is over here. You know that this is how you are labeled, and she had the patience to do that. And then she also, you guys have these holidays that I never had in Puerto Rico. So, and when we celebrate it, I thought everybody was like us. I was never taught that I would walk into something different. So how I had to put my culture to the side and receive the way Milton Hershey celebrate so-called Christmas. And I also was born Catholic, so the non-denominational thing, she helped in her way balance things out for me and try to make me understand. I didn't have house parents that had the patience to do that. So she helped. She's very proactive with decorating the room and stuff. She was very into everything, every holiday and stuff like that. And that helped me, that visible. She that's why I think that's the way I am now. I love celebrating the holidays and the meaning of everything, and Martin Luther King, and we didn't do none of that in Puerto Rico. So she opened a door that allowed me to look in, and so I continued that. Miss Osterling gave me, I didn't have confidence when I got to Milton Hershey, and she introduced physical fitness to me. So I got wrapped up with the sports in Milton Hershey, and she gave me a lot of encouragement. So I became very confident, and that's why I became very good in physical ed, and was very competitive and won a lot. And that was also that helped me a lot. She built me up in my confidence, apart from being my teacher, my phys ed, and my sports coach at the same time. She, I didn't have that kind of background or growing up or kind of people to look up to like that. So they were my teacher, and they were like people that were my mentors at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool that you got along with your teachers and your mentors. That's a beautiful thing, yo. When you have the one thing I know for sure is when adults encourage children, and it changes a child's life, no matter what it's in. Like, even if it's just something, look, I had an adult, right? He wasn't quite an adult, you know what I'm saying, but he taught me how to play chess. I'll never forget him, you know what I'm saying? I'll never forget how great I felt when he told me I was smart and knew how to play chess. You know what I'm saying? It's the small things. It's small, but chess ain't really do anything to change my life, but it was a beautiful action. Let me put it that way. You know what I'm saying? It changed. It was a gift. It was a gift. You know what I mean?
Miss Schilling's gift was because my thing was a lot visible. Miss Schilling was very into decorating all the holidays. Even she was very good. So it was a visual thing. It was a fun thing. So you learn. That's how I learned visual, and you guys repeating yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
When you have that language barrier, you observe a lot, and that 1 year was very memorable. So I learned a lot that first year, 1978. I learned a lot from her, and Miss Osterling got me right into sports immediately, and that balanced out because how do I say? I couldn't communicate like I wanted to, but I could show you, I could observe and learn, and I can actually, how do I say, Miss Osley pushed me to my limit. So you know, and these two people were very big mentors and teachers to me.
That's beautiful.
I told Miss Schilling this year.
I'm
And she
sorry,
was
you
like,
break
I
up
never,
a little
I
bit.
finally opened up. I was able to share that with Miss Schilling this year
Oh,
about
cool.
her. Yeah. So, all right. That's my story. I'm
That's
sticking
that's
to
a
it.
story. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate it, Carmen. It was good not having Andre around. That was beautiful.
You're right.
All right, I'm gonna do Don last. Nate was here and then he left. I'm like, yo, Andre, try to contact Nate, see what's going on, see if he come back. Yo, but I'm gonna let Eric go. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. I was, my sidekick. He gonna be here till the end. I don't know what's going on with you, Eric. iPhone. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk, brother. Go ahead, man. What's up
The
with the
first, my
man? Go ahead.
my first teacher who made me realize that all teachers aren't assholes was actually Mr. Galloway.
Mm.
Um, and it's crazy because how I met Mr. Galloway, I was actually running from somebody during lunch, and he seen how fast I was. And that's when I was in class one day, and he was talking a lot of stuff, and he waits after class, and he brought me up. He was like, "Yo, man, I need you on track." But just him being there and just having conversations with me, and just let me know that I could be more than what I was, he just brought a lot more out of me. The second teacher that I always could appreciate was Mr. Guy Prince.
Okay.
It was always rumored that he was Mr. Prince's brother or whatever. But anyway, yeah, I mean, he was another teacher who actually sat me down and literally had conversations with me. He wasn't one of those teachers who was talking at you. He would talk with you. And again, just one of those people just let me know that I was better or there's more out there to strive for. I guess he was thinking more of after milk than during the milk for me, which I really appreciated. My third teacher actually was my first teacher crush was Miss Knox.
Miss Knox.
She ain't do nothing for me other than, just, oh my God, she's just so beautiful. But yeah. So those are my 2 to 3.
You know what? Them pretty teachers, boy, they just do something to you, man. I remember we had a few pretty teachers, man. I don't know, man. You just be in class paying all attention.
Yes. Paying attention to them. I ain't learned a thing in class. I just pay attention to them.
It's all
knock the erasers down one more time. Can you bring down, pick that up? Okay.
Who's this the R coming on here? We'll talk to them in a minute. But Don, who's your teachers, man? Who are the teachers that changed your life, made you feel like you were like, the best student ever made it and done it and did it and all that kind of thing, man? What's up with you, Casual Don?
I just got one. It was my elementary school art teacher. I was just coming into drawing and everything. Mm-hmm. And she saw my artwork during art class, and she asked me to what was we had to do? It was a statewide art competition for Christmas, and it was based off of a hot air balloon. You had to make a character in a hot air balloon dropping Christmas gifts. And she saw my artwork in art class and was like, I think you should enter for our school. We had 5 entries per elementary school. It was grades. It was from grades 3rd up to 6th. No, 3rd to 5th. I'm sorry. 3rd to 5th was entered into the competition. So this is the first time anyone's ever commented on my artwork before. So I said, okay, I'll join. But I didn't. I was like, all right, what should I do? She said, well, you got to figure it out for yourself. So I decided to draw Roger Rabbit in a hot air balloon. Mm-hmm. So I did that. I drew the presents dropping out of the hot air balloon. And when I presented it to her, we get one of those big giant poster boards, freaking like 4 feet by like 5 or whatever. It's huge poster board, huge. So I was like, so I finished it and I brought it in. My mom dropped me off at school, whatever. And I brought it in and she was like, whoa, like I colored it, everything. And she was ecstatic. And she was like, who helped you with it? I was like, it was just all me. Nobody helped me with anything. She's like, oh my God. And a lot of the students that entered the competition as well was mad because I used a popular character at the time that was very popular. I used Roger Rabbit. At that point, Roger Rabbit had everything on lock. The movie,
Yeah, I remember Roger Rabbit.
When the movie came out, it was all Roger Rabbit, everything. So at that time, when I drew him in the hot air balloon, all the kids was ecstatic, like, oh my God, that joint banging, it's hot. Oh. So, and she just kept encouraging me. She was like, Don, you won the local competition. I was like, what? So then it had to go into the district. I beat the district. Then it went into the what was it? It was local, district, and I went into the it was one more before state. It was another one I did. I beat that competition. And then it went state. I won state. Big, huge fucking trophy, big prize. And it was the first time my mother ever recognized me for something other than being bad.
I never knew.
This happened after you left.
Okay.
So when you came to live with us, I was in the 3rd or 4th grade. You taught me multiplication. You taught me how to multiply and how to divide and do fractions and spell and all that kind of stuff. So it was 3rd or 4th grade. When I entered this competition, I was in 5th grade when I did this competition. And I won. I put our elementary school on the map, period. And that was the most defining part of me drawing. I knew that at that point in time, I could make a career out of this if I wanted to. When I won that competition, I said, okay, I'm actually good. Because when I entered the competition, I was the only Black kid that entered. It was 2 Asian kids and 2 Caucasian kids. I was the only Black kid that entered. And I didn't have no idea that I would even win at all. No idea that I would even win. It was like, whatever, if I win, I win. If I lose, I lose, whatever. It is what it is. And I just kept getting all these, and I had the award when we first moved from Greensboro to Philadelphia. I had the award, but it got lost. It was a big plaque. It was about as big as I want to say 8 by 11. About as big as a piece of paper or whatever, but it's made out of wood and it had my name on it. Wow. And it had all the principals of every single school name on it. And it had I remember it had Hunter Elementary School in solid gold. And it was like the proudest moment ever, period. Like, man, you talking about a high point in life, man. I was like, this can't get no better than this. It can't get no better than this.
Oh, I hope you still got that, right?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. My mom threw away my award.
Oh.
Yeah, she it was at that point in time, it was bad at how my household was bad at a certain point in time, whereas though I was going through a lot in my younger years, going into my teenage years. And my Uncle Andre can attest to that, and my Uncle Aaron can too as well. So my household wasn't a really cool household to be in if it was me. So a lot of my stuff that I had, that I knew and I loved, was just thrown out in the trash. So it was, it was low, but she could take the fact that I won away from me, if that makes any sense, Yeah, I didn't have the plaque and everything, but to know that I actually did something, achieved something, that was like the world to me. And like I said, my art teacher, she always pushed me because when I was always drawing stuff in her class, And she's like, wow, so you really draw pretty good. I'd be like, nah, I'm okay, but I'm almost okay. And she was a Caucasian lady. She was, always encouraging, because art was like her life. She had shows, she did all kind of different things. And she was, I didn't know this till later that she was, I forget her name, but she's actually an established artist who took time out to teach elementary school. So it was like, wow, like later on in life you find out these things, but during, you take it for granted. And she helped nurture my art as far as me drawing and everything. But that's the only teacher I can think of. It was another teacher, I'm sorry, Mr. Blevins. All of my school trips that I took, he actually paid for. Yeah, and my mom refused to pay for any trips for me to go anywhere. My sister can go anywhere she wanted to go, but me, I had to, I came home, all the other kids were on a trip. I was still in school doing classes, and I was pretty much the only kid in school. While my peers for that grade, because we did, in Greensboro, North Carolina, you did trips for the whole grade. So the whole 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, when I was in Greensboro, they're all gone. I'm pretty much the only kid in school for my grade, minus a few other kids. But I never went on a school trip. And he actually paid for every school trip for me to go on, except for the last one. The last one I couldn't go because we had to go away for a week. My mom said, I'm not signing that permission slip at all. You're not going away for a week. And it was to Dutch country. And she said, I'm not paying for that. So I couldn't go on that trip. But she allowed me to go on the other ones because someone else was paying for it. Yeah. So yeah, Mr. Blevins was definitely a cool teacher. He was definitely he was a white guy as well. And yeah, he was definitely cool too. But yeah, I forget the art teachers now. And the worst part about it is that I always wanted to thank her for what she did. And I said we'll never forget her, and I forgot her. But in my hearts and prayers, she was definitely an influence for my art. Like, if not the first influence, she definitely was top 2 easily, as far as the encouragement goes and everything.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah. Because like I said, it was definitely hard, and that's how I expressed myself. I didn't, I don't write poetry or stories, and then my art is my stress reliever. And she definitely brought that out in me. She saw it and brought it out in me. And like I said, my mom didn't acknowledge my achievements or anything like that. So that's probably why you didn't know. Grandma Joan knew, because when she called one day and I was just screaming, I was ecstatic. So I probably couldn't get the words out. When I was younger, I stuttered really bad.
Yeah.
So I probably couldn't get the words out properly to even tell her what was going on. But yeah, she called and I was so happy. I was so proud of myself that I definitely did something right. Yeah. But those 2 teachers were definitely monumental in my growth. Growing.
That's what's up, man. Teachers make a difference. I always tell people, man, as a grown person, period, you're a teacher, man. So once when a person or a child is in your, in your path and you're able to teach them, just teach them. Yeah, it ain't gotta be paid and all that. Just get, you don't have to take up your whole life, but give them a little something.
Sometimes
Exactly.
that little bit, sometimes that light, because sometimes you're the only light they have in their whole day.
That's right. For sometimes in their whole childhood, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what a child is going through.
Exactly. Because the child is taught to be quiet, don't tell nobody anything.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you're the only light in that child's life. Period. You're absolutely right.
That's right. And you know what? Now that you mentioned that, I know mine was all doom and gloom, but let me tell you, it wasn't all doom and gloom. I had a couple of teachers that tried later on in my life. You know what I'm saying? In high school, but it was a little late. You know what I'm saying? It's a little late, and I used to write poetry just to just write some stuff, and they really liked my poetry. The Baylors, the Baylors, they were really good people, man. I can tell you that. They were really good people. They inspired me. They, I told them about my things with music, and they was like, "You should just write lyrics and learn how to play." And yeah, they were very inspiring, But they can only do so much because I was going to graduate soon, And I can remember thinking that they are like they. I can remember thinking that they were like the most special people in school. You know what I mean? Because they actually cared about their student. They actually. I'm not saying other teachers didn't, but for me, I was a big guy. I was kind of scary to some teachers. You know what I'm saying? But they weren't scared of me. They were just glad that I was like opening up to them, and I was glad to do it because I trusted them. You know what I mean? I remember I was in his class. He used to teach computers, and there was this graphic kind of thing in there that you could play around with, and I had made this graphic kind of art kind of thing, and he saw it, and it kind of blew him away. He was like, "Oh my God, what is that?" You know what I'm saying? He kind of was blown away, and he showed emotion toward it. You know what I'm saying? Like it touched him in a way, and I was like, "Okay," you know. He that was the first time I realized that something I could do could touch a heart. You know what I'm saying? Indirectly, like I want to say the Baylors and who was the other one? Mr. Warner, the first teacher I had there. Now he didn't stick up for me in sixth grade. I'm not going to get into that because he worked at a boarding school. You know what I'm saying? So there was only so much he probably could do, even if I said something to him. But I will give him this. He allowed me to raise my hand as much as I wanted in class. He let me answer all the questions, and I was always raising my hand, and I was always answering questions. And it was probably, he made me feel like I was a smart kid. You know what I mean? He made me feel like, yeah. And being a smart kid was at that time a part of my identity. You know what I mean? I like knowing more than others. It was kind of a special thing to me. You know what I mean? So things happen. Life goes on. You forgive and you love and you just keep it moving. But I'm very happy to hear that happen to you because I never knew that happened to you, Don.
Yeah.
That's a great thing, man. That's a great thing. But we got one more person in the room, Rob. My man, Rob. How you
Yo,
doing, brother? How you doing?
I'm sorry for the late. I was out in the streets, and what should have took like a 10-minute trip to the mall ended up taking an hour. So
It happens, right? This happens.
yeah,
But I'm happy you're here, man. So the nice about teachers and your experience with teachers and what influence they might have had on you. What's your experience and your history with teachers?
I can't, and this is gonna sound kind of messed up because I can't think of any that's like, to me they were all between average to really good. So I never had one to pull me to the side to push me a certain direction because I was one of them dudes that always had pretty much good grades because I was like real smart. But I do have yeah, but the story I'm about to share with y'all is a prime lesson in arrogance. And also, I made the honor roll finally after being 1C away or whatever all these years in high school. So finally, they gave out how if play for the track or basketball, you get a letter from your school. Well, they actually gave out letters for honor roll. Don't ask me why, but so I went downstairs to I don't know, the counselor's office or whatever to pick up this letter, and inside that office was like half a dozen really, really cute girls, and this is a shame because this is probably a story that's not unheard of amongst Black folks who don't appreciate what God has given them in regards to intelligence. The math teacher, his name was Mr. Eisenberg, and he was handing me, he also like doubled as part counselor or something like that. He was handing me this letter for Overbrook High School with honor roll on it. And he's like, congratulations and stuff like that. I hope to see you here next year to get the same thing again. Now, because those other girls were in that room too, I was embarrassed for being smart. And I said to him, well, no, I probably won't make it next year or whatever like that, because like I didn't want to come off as being intelligent. Like to in my mind, you know, the cute girls want the jockey, flashy dude, not the smart, book smart, whatever type dude. So the reason why I brought it up is because I played myself. Come that next year, I missed honor roll by 1C. And if I would have just, you know, basically just, you know, worked myself up the same way I did the previous year, obviously I think I could have easily made honor roll. But I think I jinxed myself because I was not proud of these, you know, intellectual gifts that God had bestowed upon me. And by me being almost ashamed of that. And like I said, that's why I think there's a lot of people like that who, you know, if you are on a certain level in comparison to everyone else, you feel odd that you kind of stand out. Like to me, that was the only thing I had to stand out. Like I wasn't as popular as everyone else. And, you know, but I figured, but what I could keep up with was the, you know, the whole educational front. But I knew that wasn't going to make me any cooler. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I that, you know, that's my story. I sadly, you know, played myself and did not make the honor next year because, you know, I did not want these girls who I don't even think these girls even knew me, you know what I'm saying? But the fact that they were there and for me to stand up and take this award in front of them, it's like, you know, I'm trying to like keep it on a hush because I was ashamed of being halfway intelligent in a school where, you know, if you're intelligent, you know, it's you cream of the crop versus, you know, like I told you guys before how my brothers went to Milton Hershey, where, you know, they provided you guys with a really good education. That wasn't that way in Brook. Like you did not get a very good education in Overbrook.
Sure.
So yeah, no, like I said, though I don't have a, maybe if I thought hard enough, I just can't think of no teacher. They were, like I said, they were all good for the most part. There was no one that was, did I get a little extra if I thought, you know, maybe this one Black teacher who may be a little bit younger, you know, needed to push us a little bit more than the others? Possibly, but I really wasn't that good. Like I came in, Don, right at this kind of probably the midpoint of your art story. I was okay in art. I was mediocre in music, you know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, I did run track, but I wasn't good enough to run. Like they didn't use me at any of the events. And even though I was great at basketball, Overbrook, everybody is great at basketball.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if I'd have went to any other school, I would have been on varsity, put it like that. So yeah, like I said, plenty of good teachers of all colors, Black, white. You know what I'm saying? I had teachers telling me inspirational stuff in middle school, you know, but nothing that I can think back on that, like, you know, was enough to make me change my life. And if anything, the teachers that let me down the most was actually in college, because
Really?
I think that when professors are 20, 30 years under their belt, they feel like the couple classes I did struggle with, I mean, the teachers would like insult the entire class. Like, you know, what are you guys here for in college? Like, you should, you know, you taking up a major in basket weaving or something like that. Like, it was a certain level of ignorant arrogance that it was like, well, you know, you're paying for this, so you should be, you know, you've come this far, so I don't understand why you're not getting it like, you know, these other students or whatever like that. I'm actually end up changing my major after the first couple of years because, some of the horrible professors that just weren't willing to bend over backwards and work with you. And like I said, some of them even they'll talk down to you. I guess they figure, you're grown now. Like, I don't need to hold your hand, but at the same time, I'm paying for this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to waste a whole lot of money if there seems to be a concern about me understanding your subject or whatever like that. So, I mean, I had professors put me out of class. You know what I'm saying? So that it's a probably it should work the other way around, but I definitely got more nurturing, from a younger person aspect than the place that you would think, like, hey, I'm paying for part of your salary. You kind of work for me. You know what I'm saying? If the job isn't conveyed, if you're not conveying the subject good enough, then I know it's part me, but maybe it's part you as well. So, do I miss a lot of these teachers? Absolutely. By this point in my life, we, 7, but I know every once in a while a friend of mine said, "Oh yeah, do you remember so and so from grade school?" For me, grade school was like 85, 86. Oh, that so now you're talking 35 years ago. Well, these people weren't young then. You know what I'm saying? So if they were 50 back then, a lot of these people have long passed on by now. You know what I'm saying? So it's unfortunately, by the time you hear about it, it's like weeks after a funeral. Like these were people I would have gladly would have paid my respects to. But again, by the time word of mouth passes on, you're way behind the clock, and they're gone and buried, and you don't get to say your last bye to somebody that some teachers taught me for multiple years, like 4th and 6th grade or whatever like that. I went to Hannah, which is now Guy and Bluford School, because the first Black astronaut went to Hannah when he was young, and they changed the name. So
My son went there too.
yeah, there was a good look.
Yeah.
Neighborhood wasn't the greatest, but that was my school from 82 to 86. Beaver BWAP from 86 to 88, and then I did the Overbrook thing from 88 to 92. So those are my school years. And like I said, maybe 75% of those teachers were African American, but the white ones that I did have, they had been there for so long, probably back when the neighborhood was like different, when it wasn't all Black. You know what I'm saying? So props to them for sticking around. You know what I'm saying? Because they could have easily bailed, the same way that the neighborhood changed over. They could have easily said, hey, you know what? I'll just get a job in the burbs. Because they didn't live around there. You know what I'm saying? They didn't live 2 blocks or whatever like that. They probably traveled a distance, but you'll find that teachers have such a passion in their job. It doesn't bother them to travel, an hour each way when they don't have to.
Yeah, teachers make a difference, man. They make a lot of difference. They're pretty much your parent away from your parent, man. For a long
I gotta
time.
add something though. I did have a bad experience with a teacher though, because of my skin color. He was African, and he hated light-skinned people. And I had a chance to get a 4.0 GPA in school, and he gave me a freaking B in his class because I didn't write the test the way he wanted it. He wanted it word for word, verbatim from the book, and I didn't do it that way. I gave him the answer, but not the way he wanted it. And I fought it for 3 months, and I went to the board, and I lost.
Mm.
That was the only bad experience I remember having a teacher. It was horrible. Horrible. It's bad, man.
Teachers, man. Like I said, man, they can make a horrible or a great impact. You know what I mean? Because like I said, they're like parents in your life. They have a lot of control over your life. You know what I mean? And I just don't want to say that I'm grateful for the teachers that cared and wanted to help me, that I didn't let help me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm grateful for the ones who actually did make an impact on my life. You know what I mean? Some of them make an impact on your life. You don't even know it. You don't even know. You don't even know. You know what I mean? But because they talk about you. Teachers talk about students.
Yeah.
You
My
know
art
what I
teacher,
mean? They
my
talk
art
about you.
teacher talked about me all the time when I was in Hunter Elementary. All the time. Before I entered that contest, I was the best or one of the best art students she ever had. All the time.
That's what's up,
Period.
man. That's what's up. Well, we're at the hour. If anyone want to say anything about teachers, we could keep it on, or if you want to change the subject, this is your time because it's about to end right now. Yo, what y'all want to do? Y'all good? Y'all said all you want to say?
I'm good.
Well,
All
I
right.
still got two more teachers though.
Oh, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
You and Uncle Andre. Y'all definitely taught me a lot.
Lord.
Y'all definitely taught me a lot. Yeah, I'm serious though. Y'all was
That's what's up.
big vital part of my life growing up. Like y'all was the outlet that I just never had growing up. But y'all definitely were the big part of my life, man. For real.
I appreciate that, brother. We knew we had to be a big part of your life because we know what your life was like. Yeah, and we loved you.
And we love it. And our father was never around, so we gotta make
Never had a father, yo.
sure
We didn't even have like a stepfather, so you know.
So we try to make sure we pass all the knowledge we had to the nieces and nephews.
That's right.
Everybody we had. So anything I learned, I try to always pass it along. So
Yeah, I remember the weekends. I just come over to your house all the time, man. All the time. The weekends. Grandma Joan house and your house all the time.
Myron and Aaron came and started living with me then. That was the house, boy. That was
the best times, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's wild? We had the best times when we had no women. Once the woman came around, it was like we all went our separate ways, yo.
Oh man.
But it's all good. It's all good. Listen, if does anyone have anything else to say, because we can end it now, man. Y'all can go about your real lives. You know, I'm grateful for the phone call. You know what I'm saying? For us having this like Zoom room and talking about our life experiences and with different people and our opinions and all that. And I just want to say thank you for coming. I'm going to end it next week. Next week. What did I say was next week? Family wealth is on Wednesday. Family wealth. What did you inherit? Did you inherit anything? Are you planning on giving a legacy to your kids or passing a legacy down to someone? You can talk about it on Wednesday, y'all. I'll talk to y'all later. Good night, everybody. I'm thankful for you. Love you all, man. Everybody say goodbye to each other. Let's get out of here. Have a good day, yo.
Take it easy,
Peace.
guys.
Good night,
Later.
y'all.
Peace out, man. Salute to everybody.
All right. Love you all.
Very good, man.